2, 3. Okay.
Your mics.
All right.
Mic check. 1, 2.
Ready? In 5, 4,
No one asked you
3.
for a mic check. Okay, hello, welcome to Daytime Talk After Dark. Right before, literally a nanosecond before Peter counted us in, Al was doing a mic check. No one asked.
I thought he said, "Can we get a mic check from everybody?" And then everybody looked.
What's
at me,
everybody's mic check if you have to give a mic check?
Oh,
What's your
mine's
mic?
usually like a 1, 2, 3, a 4, 5, 6. What's yours?
I do Aruba, Jamaica.
You do.
Ooh, I want to take you.
I don't know how your mics are working when they're by your ear.
Mine's by my
It's close
throat.
to my mouth.
All right, well,
Yeah.
I think just leave it there.
Yeah, I think so.
Are you monitoring the comments? We can ask the people.
Well,
Yeah,
when I
well,
open my computer, it's a black screen with a white arrow. That's always fun.
Maybe you should check it before the show starts.
Maybe I should. I have it on my phone though, so yes, I will be.
Let's begin, shall we? Please, you guys, if any of us sound a little off, because now I am worried about you way up there, please let us know if Al sounds weird. Okay, so first and foremost, how was everyone's week? How was your week?
Good. The boys started football this week, so it was a crazy week with practice and their first games. Leighton wasn't involved in anything, my youngest one, and he played flag football for the first time, not really knowing, but it was fun to see him on a team. They're kind of all over the place, and like when the other team, I recognized some of the kids from when Lawson played it, but Lawson went up a year, so they were kind of good, and Leighton would just like run down the field with, like chasing the kid with the ball, but he wasn't chasing him, he was just kind of playing, and I was like, grab his flag, dude, grab his flag. But he did good, one flag, so it was fun to get back out there. And Lawson loves it, he plays with his buddies, so.
Is he playing contact, Lawson?
No, both flag.
When does the contact start for kids? Because I know they've changed the rules.
I started contact when I was in 3rd grade.
Wow.
Yeah, and Lawson's
Whoa.
in 2nd grade and Leighton's in kindergarten.
When do they, because I wonder if the rules have changed.
I think now it's a little older,
Yeah.
and I still want to have them a little older to develop a little bit, so I would definitely wait till they're a little bit older before contact.
So cute.
They say soccer has that issue as well.
A lot of concussions.
does.
A
Because
lot
there's
people
no
don't think
helmets.
that,
I
but
know.
soccer is a real issue.
It's number 1.
Yeah,
It's
soccer's-
number 1.
Soccer is worse than football. Yeah.
As far as concussions go.
Yes,
Yeah.
And
exactly.
hockey people really downplay too.
Well, at
with
least hockey has
concussions.
helmets as well.
Yeah.
Miss Erica Cobb, what did you do?
Yeah, what did I do? My brain is so fried that I completely botched what time we started.
That was funny.
I posted on Instagram like, oh, it's 6 o'clock. No, that's not right. Yeah, I don't know.
What's
Well,
it like being a student?
My brain is fried. It's more like the mechanisms and like when I'm supposed to be logged on to where, when, what, all of that.
That takes a lot of time.
Yeah, and then the content is something totally different. But this weekend was my goddaughter's 4th birthday. And there was this magician. They had it in a park.
Love a good magician.
And it was so cute to watch. It was so funny. And my brother and sister-in-law and my 2 nieces actually moved here just a few months ago. So
Mazel tov.
thank you. It's really nice to have them here. So they came, and so it was like, you know, my bestie and my goddaughter and my 2 nieces and brother and sister said that's really nice. And today is my niece's 3rd birthday.
Oh my gosh.
So I just left their house.
What was like the theme? Was it like princess or?
Well, she had like Frozen theme.
Oh, they all
Frozen,
love
yes.
Elsa and Anna. She
She-
Team Elsa or Team Anna?
I don't know.
Oh, how do you not
Because
know?
I have no idea.
I thought it was Anna.
Because when I asked her what she
It's
was,
Anna.
what
Yeah.
she was
I've never
excited
seen
about, she was excited about having hot dogs. That
Okay.
was the big cuisine tonight, and she was excited about Paw Patrol. So I got her. Anthony said it was a Canadian tuxedo because it was jeans, a jean jacket, and then a Bob Marley shirt underneath
Yes.
with a Paw Patrol watch.
Oh, that's
See,
him.
I'm kind of anti that. I'm
Why?
sorry. Because I'm tired of these kids that are dressed so cool now. Like,
Oh, yeah, she's dressed
Like
cool.
you
I
see
don't- yeah,
kids
agree.
and they have like matching Air Force Ones with their T-shirt and like a jean jacket. And like,
Yeah.
whatever happened?
'Cause they have an
Remember, like
aunt.
how awkward
Yeah.
kids like they'd have the big long tie from homecoming in their dad's pants. I'm hating.
Well, she's
I'm
3,
openly hating
so-
on all of them.
You're hating on a 3-year-old.
Yes, and younger. They're all dressed
They
better
do
than
look
me.
better.
It bothers
They are.
me.
I know, and the kids' clothes are so cute. Like
they
if
are
I go to
cute.
the Zara Kids, I'm like, why don't they make that in adult sizes?
Yeah, Target has good
I know.
Everyone's up their game from when we were
That's a good
doing
point.
it.
That Target, yeah.
And so now it's a little more affordable to buy some other things. Like my kids go through shoes like crazy. When I was little, you get your school shoes and you don't touch them, and those are your
Payless.
school shoes for the rest of for the whole year.
I was
What
the
did
same way.
What
Me
did they
too.
look like? What were your school shoes?
You have to pick out nice ones, but that's it. You don't get another pair. Like now at Target, they're like $20, so they could roll through them, and then you get another pair. But like when I was in the game, one pair.
And you were writing on
It's like
your shoes,
1930.
apparently.
I know. Do you remember, like, I just remember, laying out my clothes right before the first day of school, and for some reason I envision my Z Cavaricis. Do you guys remember those?
Of course.
I remember my Jimmy Z. Were you guys into Jimmy Z?
Don't know that.
A guy that runs a chop shop in your neighborhood. Jimmy Z.
What were the fake Cavaricis? Bojos or Bo?
Something like
Z
that.
Cavaricis
But
were.
then if you couldn't afford Cavaricis, you had to get the knockoff ones.
There was a
They're like
knockoff.
Bojos, and then you got made fun of.
Like your school shoes.
Because you didn't have Cavaricis.
Do you remember
I didn't have
Hammer
anything
Pants?
Yes.
Or the
Hammer pants?
Jankos.
Jankos was more junior high for me.
Okay.
I will say
I don't
this.
remember these
I
things.
learned this way too late in life, but probably from our old stylists like Curie. Like you need to have like a couple signature pieces, but they're like kind of like nice black jeans and a nice sweater that you can recycle.
Like your fisherman sweater?
Right. Yes. Like I'm the Gordon Fisherman, but I can throw a jacket over this. You can do whatever you want to this. What I did, my mistake was like the first day of school when you can buy something, I would buy like a really like flamboyant outfit. Like I bought a. Do you remember Cross Colors, Jeff?
Oh, yeah, I had one.
Yeah,
Yep.
I bought like a
don't know what that
jorts
is.
and sweatshirt set, but it was orange, purple, and green, and it looked really cool on the
She
mannequin.
didn't know what cross colors were.
I still don't know because no one listens
Chris
to me on this
Cross rocked
couch.
it. Another Bad Creation rocked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Do you
was
know
very
who they are?
colorful. It was like the early urban wear,
Yeah.
like with FUBU,
Starter
cross collars,
jackets.
Pele, yeah, all of that.
Oh yeah, I had a Miami Dolphins starter jacket. I knew nothing about the Miami
Yeah.
Dolphins, but I liked the colors.
I had the Texas Longhorns.
I had a Charlotte
which
Hornets.
was
Me
like,
too.
You did?
for whatever reason,
Go
we couldn't
Longhorns.
have Charlotte Hornets because that was a gang affiliation.
See, my mom
So
made
you had
me
to be
return a
careful.
Los Angeles King starter jacket that I got. It was crushing to me because it's all I wanted on the planet, and I got it for Christmas, and it'd be the equivalent of like giving a kid a puppy and taking it back the next day, and then bringing home a bug on a jacket, and it's like, here's the
Well, 'cause
Charlotte
why?
Hornets, and I was like, would you get out of here?
But what
I
was
like
up with
the
the
Hornets.
Kings?
What's that?
Why couldn't you have the Kings?
The Kings are
The
like
Kings were a gang sign.
Yeah, gang,
Or
gang,
yeah.
gang,
gang sign.
yeah, it was a
Yeah.
gang
Yeah.
thing, like LA something.
yeah.
Wait, time out. Was the Charlotte Hornets a gang thing?
No.
No.
Oh my
Well,
God.
it
wearing
depended on where you lived.
That was the #1 selling like starter
That's the one I got.
apparel. Yeah, was the Charlotte Hornets, like
That's
the old
the
logos,
turquoise.
And then they brought that back. Remember they changed for a little bit?
They did, but before they were cool, when they were just an expansion team and people didn't even know because the internet wasn't out. Like just you saying, like, because I had the LA Kings the 3/4 length.
Yeah.
Like it was
That's
not
what-
a game, and having to wear that bug and just like it looked
You mean
crazy.
the Hornet?
No, yes,
Yeah.
it was just a purple bug.
It was
Well,
cool.
that's how I ended up with the Texas Longhorn.
It was just all the default. You see what you do,
like
games?
that.
That's what
Hook'em horns.
happened. That's what happened.
Hook'em horns.
All right,
says
so
good
Tori,
talk.
what did you do all week?
Well, I was planning on I've been walking a lot. At
Good for
Sloan's,
you.
like doing my little power walking
Okay.
with my weighted vest. So if any suggestions come in with what size to get, let me know. But Barnaby was behind me and he went to jump and his paw got stuck in you. I heard, "Ah!" You know when a dog does
Oh,
that?
it's the worst.
And then he went like this, and then he limped his way out.
No.
And so Barnaby's. Then we were spent the time in the hospital. So anyway, he's
Sorry.
It's okay, but a dog limping at
Now
14.
both your dogs have
So they're
limps.
both limp and they're both very
Aw.
confused. One has dementia. and one is at Cushing's.
It's
I'm kind of
hard.
losing my mind.
I know, it's difficult.
It's really hard with senior dogs.
I did see you successfully feed an uplifted spirits Barnaby cucumbers.
That's correct. Thank you so much, Sam, for
Yep.
watching my stories.
You're welcome.
Thank
I
you
watched
so
that.
much. You did not.
No, I didn't.
Okay, what have you been doing all week? I walk by the way, Al's house all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And there's context because I work near it, and I look in your windows
Do
to
you?
see if we can make eye contact.
Oh, my God.
That's-
You could just go to the door,
I
Sam.
don't want to bother him, so I'm hoping we have like a run-in.
That's this is a little Gwen Stefani vibes over here, where I'm just like, I'm hoping I run into her. And I'm told Sam, come by the house. I'm unemployed, but I'm like a guy. I was up at 5 in the morning. I'm dressed and showered with
Weird.
nowhere to go.
So someone says, Damiana says, invite her in, Al.
She didn't
Yeah,
knock on the
Al.
door. Am I supposed to, Damiana? Am I supposed to sense that Sam is outside?
Yes, you
Feel some
are.
kind of weird presence.
There is
staring
a
at the house?
presence.
Yes, you are.
There is a
feel it,
presence.
yeah.
So Sam, knock on the door.
I
We've been
will.
friends for almost a decade. Come on.
What about you, Sam? How have you been?
Good. You know, I've been working. I really love my co-host over at 9 News. I
Can
think
we
she's
have a name? The name of the
I was
show?
about to. So it's 9 News at 3. Alexander Lewis is the co-anchor, and I just think she's awesome. So it's nice to learn from her. I'm learning a lot. But no, it's going good. My favorite thing is a segment that I own and created called Kids with Capes, where I amplify kid heroes here in Colorado, and there are some incredible ones.
Those kids that put on a blanket and jump off the top.
Al.
We featured Liliana, by the way, last week.
Oh my
So
gosh.
Okay, so we're going to begin with some topics. We have something that's a little bit more topical that Erica wanted to talk about. So, girl, take it away.
Yeah, so obviously we've all been following the news about Diddy and the arrest and all of the people that could potentially be connected to it. So all of these stories that we've been hearing over the course of, over 10, 20 years. And here's the thing, because I'm just going to be a little transparent about something. So when I was 21, I was on a radio station called Kiss FM in Chicago, and I've interviewed Diddy plenty of times over my career, and someone decided to put out the audio from that interview this week.
What?
And it's a 22-year-old interview, and I just want to be very, very clear, because people have made, obviously people have been connected to this. There have been a lot of victims. There have been all of these things that have happened over the course of the past 20 plus years. An interview from 20 plus years ago where we are being very kind to him. I'm clearly flirting with him. And things that are being said are in the moment.
So wait, I gotta back up. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but when this was released, what was the intent?
I don't really know what the intent is.
How did you
because
find out?
I was tagged, and I don't really know what the intention behind someone putting out an interview. First of all, it's crazy because I'm 21. I didn't even recognize my own voice, but I do know that it was me, and I do remember the interview like it was yesterday, and it wasn't even that. I wasn't embarrassed by it because I listened to it with Anthony knowing that it was not going to age well. I was more triggered by it because when I was 21, I really did not, I was a very late bloomer, and I'm speaking as if I'm truly an adult, and I'm not. And when I think about all of the context of the things that have happened since then and how I've been very clear about the fact that I'm a survivor. I was clear about my feelings when I did the interview with Cassie and found out early on before it broke that she and Diddy were together, how disturbing that was to me. So I just want to be clear that if you're getting content from 20 years ago, that my feelings about this person now are not reflected by the feelings that I clearly was so eager to speak to this superstar when I was 21 years old. So that being said, a lot of people are distancing themselves from Diddy right now. And one of those people is Usher, who was very much ingrained in the fabric of this Diddy situation.
I did not know that.
Yes. So Usher was like basically Diddy was it was like they were like protege relationship. But it was also discovered and Usher had a lot of interviews talking about he was basically given to Diddy and Diddy was his legal guardian for quite some time.
I did not know that.
As he was coming up in the business. So Usher was living with Diddy and then subsequently Bieber
I was
lived with
knew
Diddy.
that part.
Okay, so now
right.
you're connecting the dots.
So
Okay.
now people are making connections between the
Bieber.
Usher and Bieber and all of this stuff. Well, all of a sudden, earlier this week, Usher's Twitter goes completely blank. And people were speculating that he had basically purged his Twitter because of his connections and all of the back and forth that would have been there from Diddy. So Usher's come out and said that basically this is like a conspiracy, that he was hacked and there's nothing more to the story. But the timing is obviously very suspicious. So one, my first question is like, when we think about the context of our careers, our lives, whatever, how much of that is still representative of who we are today? And then following up with that, with the Usher conversation, is if you are embroiled in some type of a scandal, is it better to clear your history or is it better to just speak openly and confront what it is that's being brought to you?
That's a tough one. That's
Can I?
something that you bring
And
up
can
a
I
lot.
say that just two categories? There's something that legally I would tell you to do, and then morally that you do. Legally, you shut up, and I would think hopefully, maybe erase as much as you can. I know they can get to it, but legally, there's different avenues that you can take than what I think one would do morally.
Listen, to speak on what you said, that was a good point. 'Cause,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
want to just get rid of all that, but you want to distance yourself from the situation
Yeah.
too, right? If he was involved in that, that will come out as
Yeah.
well. But for right now, if he wasn't and he kind of just went along and he knows about some things, wipe your Twitter. Say, I don't want anything to do with this guy anymore. You know, and you interviewing someone 20 years ago and then they do something
ridiculous.
nefarious, whatever Diddy did, no matter what you do. If you interviewed a murderer 20 years ago, that's not on you. So
Yeah,
don't take
yeah.
what people are saying out there because they're just trying to inject themselves in the conversation. It's the same. It's the Billy Bush effect.
I was
still
just gonna say that.
I still think Billy Bush should have never lost his job. But we
agreed.
were in the middle of all that. I can't believe I'm back on this subject, cancel culture again. I haven't said that since we lost our jobs. But yeah, he shouldn't have lost his job. Sometimes when you're interviewing someone and you know they're a little wild and you know they're this or that, like Trump, you play into it and they say
Butter them
crazy
up.
things and you're like, whatever. You just want to get more information out of them. That's us as hosts.
I
We've
agree.
all done it, and you shouldn't be, feet to the fire for something you did 20 years ago, even 5 years ago. It's like, I was trying to loosen this guy up and I was going along. I knew he had these stories and I just want to do this. So the Diddy thing is wild. That's all I see on my internet. I see Bieber said, he goes, I'm not speaking, or his people are like, I'm not speaking on this. So this Usher, or this Diddy thing's going to go deep.
Well, everyone's
It's
looking
very,
for.
very Jeffrey Epstein.
It is, and
Yeah.
everyone's looking for the 7 degrees of separation. And people that are just looking at like old interviews or old photos, it's not fair. First of all, this is an FBI investigation. So you better believe that the FBI is a gazillion steps ahead of you. And you're really playing with people's lives. You're playing with your life. I had no idea that happened, by the way. I'm so sorry. I think about all the times that I waited. I know it's different than an interview, but I waited on Diddy when I worked in the nightclubs. And if there was like some picture of me, like, trying to ham it up so I can get a bigger tip, what would that mean for me? But I do think what's important though, the internet sleuths, because I do want to like draw a line, because there has been whistleblowers in the past, so to speak. I'm not saying that that's what this is, but I do think that we have to allow some room for people to say, okay, I do know that there's some smoke here, and I'm gonna, call to it on social media because that gets the attention of the police. I'm not saying that's what this case is with Usher or with Erica, obviously, but I don't want to just like paint with a broad brush that like we can't look into certain situations, because then certain people's stories would never be talked about.
I think when we talk about these issues, we have to remember that not everybody that's viewing these things are looking for the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are very curious about the story. Diddy's a famous guy. People, sex and violence and arrests sells. So some people look at it for that. Some people, and Erica, as it pertains to you, are just looking to throw anybody down the toilet with him. Watching an interview from 22 years ago is not going to do, unless you're watching an interview from a great writer or something and you want to learn from them, it's done with the intent to harm you.
Yep.
Because there's nothing that somebody's going to glean from that. Then look at this girl smiling all up in this predator's face, because they have the privilege of hindsight. Back in 2000 or 1999, whenever you had that interview, people before the internet cannot grasp how famous some people were.
Right.
Because now everybody's kind of famous. I make cookies in my kitchen in my negligee.
Don't use
and
the
she's
voice.
got
It's a
2.5
weird
million
voice.
followers. Some
Right, it's true.
moron
I know.
making oatmeal cookies.
I follow her.
And
She's a
so,
moron.
just like a non-talented person,
you're
Erica,
right.
somebody
Maybe
that can
they're
put
great
heat
cookies
to
are
sugars and
delicious.
dough.
And they
But-
get
but
put on a
yes,
pedestal.
Back in the day, yes, there was like maybe 150 famous people, and they were real famous. And the fact that you were talking to him, that would have made you famous. Like at the
Right.
bar, like I interviewed Diddy today, bar goes silent.
I felt famous waiting on Diddy.
Yes.
Yeah, right. You get in that sphere.
Yeah, so
I'll just-
like
yeah.
the idea that like somebody would be trying to glean like, well, what was Erica thinking? And they're not. They're
weird.
looking to come at you to take you down. Do not let them do that.
Yeah.
That is all I'm
There's
saying.
social credit in taking someone down. The gotcha
Crazy.
thing, you get social credit from the internet by pointing out.
Absolutely. Look
Silly
at this
things.
sister
I will-
helping out
to
there.
End,
Yep.
To end
And
this
to end
very
the con-
quickly
yep.
button,
Yep.
there have been interviews that I've gone back and watched, including one with Charlemagne, The Breakfast Club,
Yep.
where they're saying, oh, did you black out again? Did you black out? And they're talking to Diddy, and he's like, yeah, I don't remember what happened. And he goes, well, I recorded something at your party. And Diddy kind of like, you see him change, and Charlemagne plays it. And Diddy's saying something like, Daddy, Daddy, I like it when you scramble and you stretch or scramble. It's really weird. And he pauses it. And everyone's like, what's that about? And he visibly is caught. I mean, it's a moment in which I've seen it all over my Instagram. So sometimes going back on interviews can show you a part of something. This had nothing to do with it at all.
Well, no, and I'm not like
Yeah, I know
I'm
you're
not
not.
like in a bad place because
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
just like that's crazy
How
that
people can be
that would
dragged
be
in.
connected. But I think that was also something that he did on a podcast
Yeah,
that
yeah,
he was
yeah.
playing back for
Back
him.
for him, and he
Yeah.
was like, "Yeah, I don't." It was crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Charlemagne shouldn't be in trouble for interviewing
Exactly,
Diddy. is the
exactly,
point. Yeah.
exactly.
Well, and I
But
don't
he won't be. Erica will be because they feel like they can get to her.
Well, I mean, I don't feel like I'm in. I'll be clear. I
Yeah.
don't feel like I'm in trouble.
No.
It just was something that I have thought a lot about because just like the ebbs and flows of like our lives and our careers, and like you think about those things, like God, like, because the truth is, and I've said this before, I did meet him. Like I met him that night, and when I met him, I was in the. We were in the alley, and I was saying like I've told you guys this
Yeah,
story,
yeah.
right? Yeah. So my friend and I went to that nightclub with the intention of meeting him, and we got all the way out to the alley, and there were a long line of SUVs, and he said, "Are you going to get in the car?" And my response, which I feel more horrible about, although I feel like something was protecting me that night, in hindsight, was I can't, I'm not a whore. And I said it so fast, but even today, I don't believe that any of these women are whores. I don't believe that they were, I think that they just got themselves or ended up in a situation
Or he manipulated.
that all of a sudden they didn't have control
That's
over.
right. That's how
and
he
that's
does
a
it.
totally different
Yes.
thing.
Especially with the power of celebrity. Are you
I would
kidding
argue
me?
that society was speaking for you through you because of what you had heard leading up to the fast girls go to the hotel. Girl, so like I think what came out of you was not you calling those women whores. It's all the women that raised you, all the people you heard talking in beauty shops, all the people you heard making comments about girls that walk of shame in the morning. That was you saying, I'm not that. Not impugning your
Yeah.
character.
Right.
And I've gotten in a car before.
With who?
Well, Peter's trying to rap me.
Yeah.
But let
Oh,
me
you guys
just
were
really
saying the
quickly. No, so when we
That's implying there's just one name.
There's the UCLA swim team, because I used to swim for UCLA. We went out on our first night, and we had only been freshmen at UCLA for the athletes get there before school starts.
Right.
So we had been there, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks in the middle of summer, and we decided we would all go to the Key Club. The Key Club's on Sunset Boulevard, and we went, and none of us were of age, but we had a swimmer that worked at the Key Club, so they let us in. And we hung out at the Key Club for a little bit, but it was the first time I'd ever been on the Sunset Strip. Then we're coming out of the
I didn't
Sunset
say
Strip.
tell a whole boring story. I just said, who was it?
I'm in it. So you were coming out
So
of the
put
Sunset
our swim
Strip.
caps on.
I told you that was the audition story.
I was wondering if they were gonna swim in. I loved it.
So then we're waiting outside to get cabs or whatnot, because this was way before Uber and all that. So we're waiting outside, and a limousine pulls up.
Uh-oh.
And
Somebody's got $70.
What's the director that produced or directed all of Britney Spears's videos? The Asian director. He's a music video director. Asian. He is known for all of his crazy high budget. Anyway, so he pulls up. I had no idea who he was until later. I was like,
Neither
oh.
does anybody else.
Yes, and you don't know who he is now. Some could argue you've never known who he is.
So he pulls up, the back window goes down, and I told you guys the end of the story. The back window goes down, and he goes, do you guys want to come to a party? I felt safe, power in numbers, but now as a mom, I'm like, how dare 19-year-old Sam do this?
I would have gotten in the car.
Well, we did. We
Yeah.
all got on. We went way up to the hills, the West Hollywood Hills, and we went to this huge mansion, but it was empty. They had not furnished it yet.
They always are. That's where
Really strange.
Weird. Music videos are shot in those empty
Well,
ones.
speaking of music, then Seal starts singing "Kiss from a Rose" outside by the pool.
She buried the
But
lead.
there's no furniture in there?
You don't care about Seal?
No, I'm like,
There's
what
never any
gosh,
furniture.
all right.
It's like
So,
fronts for
it's
something
weird.
else.
I
It's
know.
never any
Yeah.
furniture.
Yeah.
Kiss
So-
by a rose.
Yeah, there was 9 people there, and Seal was singing "Kiss from the Rose."
I don't know. Can I
Kiss
say the
by
lyrics on that?
Rose?
I don't know. Kiss by a rose on the grave. What is say the line?
We don't even know if it's Kiss by a Rose
Or
or Kiss of a
the
Rose.
I don't know any Seal songs.
That
Yeah.
one song we all know. Kiss of a rose on the grave.
Joseph Kahn, I believe, is the
Oh,
director's
my gosh.
name. I just
Make that up.
I did not make it up. Okay, we're gonna move on because we've talked a lot about
Tell your
half
famous
hour.
Joseph Kahn story.
Wait, it was Shaka Khan. I'm sorry, that's his real
No,
name.
Joseph Kahn. Okay, so this is something this is also really timely, and I definitely want to get everybody's opinion on it. We've talked a lot about social media when we were on DBL. So Instagram, with all the pressure from the congressional hearing, and now they have a slew of lawsuits from people being like, not only because there is a whistleblower, by the way, at Meta that came out and said, we know, or this is all alleged, but according to that whistleblower, which came out recently, he said that Mark Zuckerberg knew about all this stuff and refused to take any sort of accountability or make changes because he knew that would hurt the bottom line.
Changes the intent, doesn't it? It does. He wasn't just negligent, he was
Why are you
malicious.
talking like we're writing the Constitution.
Where's James Caan in that limo? Jumping back
Joseph
then.
Kahn. Joseph Kahn.
Oh yeah, rest in peace, James Caan. Sorry.
Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
gosh, right?
Okay, so here's
How many other cons do you know?
I know a lot. It's a very Jewish name. I'm sorry.
That's Cohen.
Yeah, you're right. Cohen, you're right. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to get your opinion if you guys think this is strict enough, okay? So this is supposed to be for teens, all right? So what they're going to do now is they are going to force teens under the age of 18 to automatically, they're going to be private. If you're a teen, you have to be private, okay? So that's number one. Number two, they're gonna make sure that their message settings, number one, the parental control automatically will see who you're messaging. You also cannot receive messages unless it's from somebody that you follow. Also, you cannot be tagged or mentioned in anything because it could be a nefarious post or somebody grooming you. They're also gonna make sure, and this reminds me of what you used to bring up on DBL, they're also going to limit so they're going to nudge the kids by having alerts being like, you've hit an hour a day. And they're going to recommend that you stop. who knows if kids are going to stop, but that's one thing they're going to do. But then the whole app will go into sleep mode from 10 to 7, which will, no messages will come through, no notifications will come through. You can still scroll, but also they're also going to change the algorithm for 18 and under to where anything, it can be obviously all age appropriate, but even things like plastic surgery. Like if there's something that you would think, you know, would fall in the loophole of my teen daughter can see this, and they're afraid that that later would lead to an eating disorder, they're going to take the extent of taking out anything that's body image or dysmorphia or plastic surgery related. So those are the things that they're doing. Okay, is this
I
going
have
to
a
work?
question.
I also have something to say.
Okay.
What's stopping teenagers from just putting a different year that
That
they
was
were
my
born?
question.
So apparently,
Why'd you take
whoever
the good question?
the parent is, you have to somehow show that you're 18 and over. Here's where that caveat is, though, where people are concerned. What if you have an older sister?
Yeah, you just
Or
use,
an
right.
older friend?
You're
or
just
a
gonna get around
babysitter?
the age thing.
Yeah, are you gonna like, certain people would stand outside of a liquor store and wait for somebody older to go and buy them some alcohol. Tori's raising her
I'm
hand.
just stretching.
So will that be, so there's ways to get around it, but
Right.
is this a step in the right direction?
I think so.
Is it
Is
enough?
this legal though? Is this like, are they putting this into law?
So this has nothing to do with legislation.
This is Instagram.
This is Meta responding to the pressure from Congress and from the parents that are suing. And Mark Zuckerberg has gone on record apologizing to the parents that their children are no longer here. So this is him saying, these are my new policies.
Right, and I like those,
they
and
roll
I've
out
mentioned
this
a
week.
lot of those because China's already doing a lot of that on their Instagram. You know, that shuts down from 10 to 7, a lot of things that you said. They filter all their things into positive algorithms, whether it's you know, athletics or
Art,
math or
yep.
yeah, whatever it is, it's all positivity being filtered to them. Here's my thing: if you're 15, could you choose not to do that? Could you say, I don't want to do that because I monetize this and make a living? How about Ryan, that
Nope,
kid Ryan's
it's
World?
forced. Nope. It is 100%
See, there could be
forced.
lawsuits
Now,
about
but
that
here's
because
the
that's
thing.
how people, a lot of kids now
And then let me just say,
monetize.
someone, Megan
It's-
Alexander just wrote in, they just create new accounts. Most teens have a private account of Finsta for parents and one's from everyone else. I just wanted to
But
add
even
what
if you
those-
have a Finsta, you're still going to have an adult set up that account for you.
unless you can figure out an AI face to use to get in. I feel like this is,
But
An
we
AI
can really
face.
provide ideas right now.
yeah.
But in general, I do like
Al,
where they're
fix
going
your
because there needs to be something in place. I believe, just because I have 2 kids coming into that
Yeah.
world, that
Sorry,
I
everybody.
would like some sort of regulation
I agree
of
with you.
sorts where creeps can't get at them because they don't know how destructive the internet is at this age. Their brains-
Completely agree.
Yeah.
And a lot more sex trafficking than we realize is
Yeah.
happening on social media, and a lot of young girls and boys are being groomed, and it's awful. If you go down that rabbit hole, it's awful. But I will say, just to end this, something that I thought was not only, so some schools now are taking the initiative, of course, to just ban cell phones, and we've talked about this in certain school districts. I think that's really important. But you brought up, I forget what influencer, not influencer, but content creator, Ryan's World.
Yeah.
I wonder if, you know how some accounts are parent run? I don't know what that loophole is. If like,
There's got to be one because if someone's making millions of dollars, off it,
right, but
can't
then are
just
you
shut them down.
exploiting the child on social media? I don't know how that works, but I do know if it's a parent run account, if you're over 18, you're not going to be forced and shut down, so to speak.
Well, I'd rather
So-
have this conversation about what should and shouldn't work.
Yeah.
At least we're having something.
They pulled a full
moving.
page New York Times ad showing you all of this, and Instagram was like, we apologize, we want
They've
parents to
known
know
this from
about
day
it.
one, and it pisses
Yeah,
me off.
yeah.
It's disgusting. Like, I can't imagine if I was in the dark ages of, because we are all very privy to social media. And even I'm learning. I'm like boomer. Like, when I talk to some of these younger kids, I don't know anything. You guys couldn't even post a link the other week.
I could, but yeah.
So I'm just saying.
Tristan Harris has been talking about this for a long time.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm
I
just,
mentioned him,
yeah, I'm just saying though, you know, I feel really bad for a lot of the parents who don't understand social media, and they lose a child to whatever happened to their kid because of social media, and suicide, or it could
Which
be
is
trafficking,
anything,
or it
but
could,
suicide's number one. It's through
Yeah.
the roof.
Yeah.
Especially
because
with
of
young
social
girls.
media.
Yeah.
So I think this is a step in the right direction. Before we move on really quickly, this is going to be 2 minutes. There's a new survey that blew my mind. Do you know which, and this is a large survey from YouGov, do you know which generation is most affected body image wise when they go on Facebook or social
The
media
boomers?
in general?
Is it the boomers?
What do you think?
I'm
millennials.
going to say people one rung below our age, so 35 to 45.
Okay.
I'm gonna go 50 to 60.
Yeah.
Really?
I think a boomer.
I
Isn't
think,
that
I
you?
think what
Isn't
Jeff
that
said,
boomer,
like the
50 to
people that are
60?
still having
No.
kids, because there's that rush to like get your mom bod off or whatever, and start working out a
Off?
week. Yeah, start working out the week of childbirth. Some people have done that.
No, you're right.
So I think that it's targeted because you're obviously your body's different, and so I feel like they're susceptible to be targeted.
I hate.
It's the baby boomers. And they're still looking
How
to
old?
why. So
That's my parent. Oh, no.
So first, the number
Yeah, my
one,
parents.
33% Generation X. 1965 to 1980. I'm 1980, so that's me. Then right there behind, baby boomer generation, 1946
Yeah,
to
my parents.
1964.
Yeah.
Then Gen Z millennials, like very little body image, because I guess they understand that people are, and I don't know, because I do disagree, because we've seen a lot of studies where it shows that young girls are very much affected by what's posted.
But more young girls are on than a baby boomer, so that's going to be leaning towards that. Like baby boomers don't know how to relate to this phone the same way a young girl would.
And they also don't realize all the filters.
They don't
and all
understand
that.
any of
Yeah.
that.
I also, we're used to the rhetoric being young women should look this way. What people weren't used to is the rhetoric that, you know, when you're in the baby boomer generation, that there are people out there looking like that. And you're like, nobody in my town looked like that at this age. And that the expectation wasn't
I
to look
know.
like that at this age. So why people out there looking like that at this age? And then we're all applauding like, oh my gosh, she's 65
You're
and
right.
she looks 40. And
You're
people
right.
are like, well, what the hell happened to me?
You're right.
So I
That's a
can
good point.
understand
Yeah.
how it's probably like, it probably amplifies everything because you're like, we've never seen this before.
That blew my
Because we all
mind,
talk
though.
about the Golden Girls, like the Golden Girls were our age.
She said I was 41 in the last one I saw on Blanche. She goes, I'm 41 and 5'6", and I'm like, I'm 42, Blanche.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Okay, so that's it from me. What do we got, Tori?
God, that was so embarrassing. That was so embarrassing.
Don't you miss this, Tori?
Yeah, it's not really the silence. I don't miss it all.
I thought you
a lot
had
of people.
something. Oh no, that's him. It's his turn. It's Al's turn.
Yeah. Mark.
Well, yes. I thought we were going to lead the show with it just because I guess, again,
We
it's...
thought we were going to lead the show with it when we had a 5-minute meeting before the show about what we were going to lead with.
I just thought it was assumed, and I think it goes to the point of just everybody's algorithm is so different.
Agreed.
Mark Robinson, who is the lieutenant governor of North Carolina, it's weird how things leaked out because 3 weeks ago I saw a story that a guy that ran a porn shop in North Carolina said he would come in 5 times a week.
Get ready, folks.
Because they had no, and this is all verified, because North Carolina had a rule that you couldn't take the tapes out, but you could watch them there. So you can do that math. So he was going there 5 times. Erica 5 times a week, to the point where like he was bringing pizza. They were like, yes.
He
And
brought
so
food in there?
yes, they interviewed the guy that ran the shop. Like he was.
By the way, he's the former lieutenant governor. We should let people know that.
Well, he's running for governor now.
Yeah.
And so smash cut to last week, it came out they found some old posts of his on different message boards, including sites that like Nude Africa, where he went under the name of Mini Soldier, and he declared that he was a black Nazi. He put that in all caps.
I am a black Nazi.
That's what he said.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's what he said.
Yeah.
I mean, and whenever you're talking about somebody running for the governorship of a state, and I am a black Nazi is arguably not the most controversial post that they had. He wanted to bring back slavery, and he's anti-trans, but was posting trans porn is hot because it takes the man out, but still keeps the man there.
Is he mentally
He said pregnant women are
unstable?
no longer, their body isn't theirs once they're pregnant again. The whole problem is that Trump got involved in this. Go ahead, I'm so sorry.
No. He's a Trump appointee. They wanted him to drop off the ticket. That's the last thing I'll say. If anybody has any questions about how his side feels, all of his staffers walked last night except for 2 and a bodyguard.
Yeah, they all
So he didn't
resigned.
have
En
enough to
masse.
play a half-court basketball game. That is his entire staff helping him run for governor.
And they all did not know they are resigning because it's out, or they're
resigning because it's out, but
Yeah,
it appears
I'm
that
sure they knew.
They knew something was coming down the pike because they were. It said that the Republican Party was trying to get him to drop from the ticket, but Friday was the last day to drop. But I would argue, Tori, and you would know better than I, the most toxic candidate. Almost even besides David Duke, because David Duke got like 40% of the vote in
He sure
Louisiana
did.
when he ran as an open Klansman.
He was a KKK member, very openly running for president. I will say this, when we talked to him on the show about it, we start getting candidates that start going lower and lower and lower because you just want someone with a Republican or a Democrat on their name, and we've said a bag of sand would do, you're going to get the low life that is this human being. The bar is so low, our candidates are the low life that, and I'm saying this because he said some horrific things.
Maybe
about
the worst things I've ever heard.
The maggots, horrendous things. That this man was almost going to be governor shows you where our candidate level is, and I'm saying this on both sides of the parties, but I think...
this is a one-person issue.
Yeah.
There's no vetting. Erica, you were going to say something.
No, I think that
Sorry, over
No, I agree.
no one,
I'm just looking at comments.
like, you're either such an altruistic person, which there are people who are leaders in this country who truly just want to make the world a better place.
I think Bernie Sanders is one of them.
I
I do.
believe
I
that
agree.
there are leaders, and I mean,
I agree
Bernie,
with
you can name whoever you want to name, and then I think that there's somewhere in the middle. I think that there's power-driven dynamics, and then I think that there are clowns who should not see the light of day, who have completely snowed everyone and just want this power, and the power is for the same reason why that man was in that building for 5 days in a row, because it's something that they're getting off on. Like it's the way that they
I
can
agree with
trick
you.
people into believing that they are deserving of being a leader in this country.
if you
And
did-
we have to admit that there is a percentage of our leadership, and we know it.
I agree with you.
That's what it is.
I completely agree with you. But if you did a Google search or half of a vetting process for this gentleman, instead of seeing, may I remind you, a black Republican who can look good for your party, no vetting was done. Zero. And they put this bigot on the ticket and raised him up.
How is there no
it's
vetting
so
done?
strange.
Is there no
We
legislation?
just got done with George Santos, Sam. People
Herschel
didn't-
Walker.
You were George Santos for Halloween. People didn't even know, and now it's like he's George Santos, and people were like, "Who is that?" I'm
By the
like,
way, he's
"But
being
that's
sued for fraud by the government.
yes,"
So I'm
and he's
sorry.
going to go to jail for quite a while. But the thing is, how did they get that far?
Yeah.
You couldn't
We
get into
already
a
said
nightclub
it.
with a fake ID, but you can almost be
Right.
governor.
Well, I think
I agree with you.
It was already said too. Like there are certain candidates that if you are going to fit the bill for whatever reason, in this case, a black Republican, which is a minority on top of a minority on top of a minority.
Exactly.
So like, what questions do you want answered?
Right.
Like,
The question
Are you a
you have to vet
porn
and-
addict?
because you know your adversaries are going to look into this person's background. I would do enough vetting if I was gonna bring somebody else on this podcast, and I was like, I met this guy Mike. He said he's really cool. Before we mic'd him up, Erica, you'd be like, what's his last name? We would do some searching before, and then before we put him on here, we find out that he's got a rap sheet as long as your arm. Like clearly, a little bit of vetting. Call up the old porn guy. He would have told
I
you.
agree. How'd the newspaper find the porn guy?
Right.
How'd they get an interview?
Right. That is crazy.
Yes. It just
It's embarrassing. It's sad and it's embarrassing. But that's where we are today.
there's no bot, and the fact that he's still in the race. What does that say about us as a culture? That somebody that is like, forget he's black. We are now in a place, Jeff, where somebody can say I'm a Nazi, and people be like, that's crazy. I'm not voting for him. Rather than like, he should be tackled and taken away.
Normalization.
He's like still in there,
Normalization.
kicking it.
I think Jeff's always felt that politicians, and I'm not saying all politicians, but you've always felt like that they're a little bit of a fraud.
Always.
Yeah.
And it's not him that climbed to the top. It's who was backing him that pushed him to the top. That's the problem. You get a black guy that's running for a Republican, the group of those people that said, this is our guy, they pushed him to the top. They knew he was eating pizza at a porno hut or whatever it is.
Right. It was called Gents Video, Gents.
Was it?
But you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
they knew what was going on. They knew he had that background, but they're like, this is our guy because we need a face for
Follow
our
the
campaign.
money.
And it's not like George Soros. You think he magically...
Santos.
Or yeah, see, I always messed that up. I thought it was George Santos. For the record, I wanted to be Larry David for 7 years on Daily Blast Live and never got to do it. But I got to do George Santos. Yeah. But anyways, I'm just saying, politicians, it's all about scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. And that's how we are where we are with our candidates. Because we don't have a good candidate that wants to step up and say, you know what, I think I could really do something. Even myself, I'm like, you know what, I think I could really do something for my community, not for the President of the United States, and kind of step up into those leadership roles. And I'm like, I don't
told him that
and I'm like, I don't
me.
want. No, I'm like, first of all, I don't want that. You know what I mean? I don't want the scrutiny. And then if you do start raising the bar, to dig into every single thing that your kids are doing, or what you did in high school, or what you did, you know what I mean? Nobody has a
muddy.
perfect
Yeah.
past. And to get all those things thrown out and your family embarrassed, just for like little things. I'm not saying I murdered somebody. I'm saying like stupid little things. You don't want your family put on the national stage
Yeah.
to be embarrassed for that. So you get bozos like this that are like, I'll do whatever it takes.
Right.
If, as long as I get my face on TV, you guys give me a nice fat paycheck and I'm working for the government
Well,
now, and I got a little status.
That's what I've always said, and that's why I've said, even though the people sitting on this couch, the people in this room would be fantastic politicians. My mother, our mothers, would be fantastic. Your mom wouldn't know how to be shady. Like my girlfriend's mom would
My
have
mom
to.
could be shady.
No,
She could be shady.
not
Shady goes over your head
not
sometimes.
in the political way. And I'll say this really quickly. I think that's why the good folks will never become politicians.
Right.
One, for what you said, Jeff, but also the other side of that is somebody goes, hey, Jeff, you and Sam are a half a point off with 2 days to go. You want to go after a kid about the
it's
thing?
true.
You want to take a shot at somebody's kid who's getting out of drug
All right,
rehab?
let me just
Not that
say-
your kid is, but I'm saying you don't have that in you, Jeff. I don't have that in me.
let me say there
and that's
are-
why they'll never be like good people, because you have to be a horrible person to make it there.
Can I say there are exceptions to that rule in which, and I
With
will
every
include,
rule.
of course,
Yeah, good
but
point.
people
No.
like Raskin and Obama, and I will say other side, John McCain, people that did that because not that they, everybody wants power in politics. Obama said his ego was the size of the moon. Everybody who wants to be president has an enormous ego. However, ego. Okay, that's all we're gonna talk about now. I lost my idea.
Stay on track.
No, I'm saying, but the main point is that some of them sacrifice all of that and this to do it for good. And I know that there are people out there that can die.
You're gonna be,
agree. I agree
then you're
with
gonna be
that.
Liz
Thank you.
Warren.
I
You're
agree
gonna
with
be
that.
Liz Warren.
Yeah,
You're
and she
not
got a
gonna-
standing ovation for 11 minutes because the Democrats believe that she is there for the consumer, in which she is. And I think people like Bernie Sanders, I think John McCain, I think Liz Cheney, I think Adam Kinzinger on the other side, those people care about the Constitution and would take the sacrifice of being looked at through telescopic lens and microscopic lens too, because they believe in the country that much.
But they don't have any power.
Yes, they do.
they do.
These
I
people
believe
are.
that.
No, you're
I
right.
believe
There are
that.
people that are
There
in
are
it for
people.
the for
I'm
the
glad
right
you,
reasons.
you stood up for that.
Thank you.
That's for sure.
Ego.
But there are people that are just there because they fit the mold of what they think.
1,000,000%.
Right. And that's how they got
Sarah
there.
Palin, hashtag Sarah Palin.
You know, we don't have time for all this, but I want to talk about one time all
Yeah.
these people in the government,
Please.
just getting back to that, that are buying and selling stocks, that are controlling
Yeah,
big,
hashtag
very stock.
Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi's number one.
Yeah,
But then now
not
the guy in
cool.
the Board of Health or something just sold like 1 million shares of something else. Nancy Pelosi, I follow a Nancy Pelosi tracker, and it tracks all of her buying and selling for stocks.
Her husband and she.
Yeah, I follow it on Instagram. You could go, I'll show you. It's like a Nancy Pelosi tracker, and this guy shows
He
all
needs something to do,
politicians
what stocks they buy. And they
Are you
dump,
making money?
They dump. No, I don't have any money to put in it. They dump like
got him to
all.
laugh.
Yeah, they dump like all their, and they're working specifically for that like technology or in the healthcare industry, and they're buying and selling and dumping and making so much money, and you could follow them because they're all public. And Nancy Pelosi crushes the stock market.
It's true.
So when she dumps, you dump. When she buys,
It's
you
true.
buy.
Insider
What?
trading
Yeah.
to the
Well,
most.
But
Yeah.
here's
I
the
mean,
thing,
I'm
though.
aware, but
sorry.
not to the point where people are following the trackers.
I mean, it makes
and
a
by
lot of
meantime, we're
sense.
talking about Pizza the Hut
Yeah,
over
it
here.
makes a lot of
Porno the Hut.
sense to track it, but we talked about this. I think it was season 2. I can't remember the politician. It was the one who was like involved in a scandal in the South. One person. But essentially, I was talking to you about Tori about the stock trading because that's how the family had become crazy wealthy, and it was basically insider trading, which came up during the scope of the investigation. I don't know if any of this, because his daughter or wife was also in politics. If I would have known Jeff was bringing this up, I would have.
I believe
would have had
did
the
she
name.
also own a WNBA franchise?
Is it the Charlotte Hornets?
I don't remember, but I mean, in terms of yes, all of that, that's absolutely spot on, and it's more than Nancy Pelosi. She did not just create the wheel on that one.
No.
I just looked up Nancy Pelosi tracker. This isn't it, but they're all over. Just Google or
Okay.
just go on your Instagram and follow Nancy Pelosi
And I love
stocks.
Nancy Pelosi, but I will say that she is in a weird way of when she does.
A weird way?
Okay,
What are
I'm
you
just
asking?
saying.
A weird way?
Okay, I
It's
agree.
saying, that guy's okay. Everybody likes pizza.
Yeah,
It's not a weird way. Call it out. She's
I
robbing the
did. I
public.
said hashtag
You know what it is,
Pelosi.
Jeff?
Well, she's not the only one.
Everybody on both sides, all sides, equal opportunities for everybody.
For the
Republicans
rich.
and Democrats
Yeah.
are stealing, are just straight up stealing.
Well, Jeff, I don't know if they're stealing so much as it's open bribery. It is
Yeah.
open
Right.
bribery.
Like
When you
lobbying.
hear about all these politicians and senators and some senator that's says something dumb and then they lose the next year, and you're like, how did she make $700,000 last year? It's because after these people are out of politics or currently in politics, they go on these speaking tours. Only when I do stand up, it's a good day if I get a couple racks to do stand up.
What is a rack?
What's a
mean?
rack?
Couple thousand.
Thousands.
Is a rack
What
a
is a
thousand?
stack?
It can be that too.
Oh, I've heard
Yes.
stacks. Stacks.
But when you see these politicians go and you're like, why did this politician get $417,000 for a 40-minute speech? What's she breaking down in that speech? That must be a pretty interesting speech.
Well,
it's bribery.
Obama
this is
went
the way
and
that
got
we
a lot of
bribe
money
our
talking to the
politicians.
banks afterwards.
Oh,
The
yeah.
banks paid him a lot of
And
money
the
to
books
talk
that
after.
my father's firm helped represent as well.
Yeah.
But
Many people do.
I'm just gonna have to say, I'm gonna have to jump in on that one. There's a big difference between some random politician in
A senator,
Alabama
yeah, right.
making $400,000
And a former president.
and a former president making millions of dollars, which is on par for a former president to make millions of dollars. The amount of money that people are making generally has to do with what their status is, what their poll is, what their numbers are. If you think about some of the biggest celebrities that you know in the world, you would be astounded that a lot of them are making more than a former president. So I think in that respect, I'm not going to call BS on that one.
All right, but how about this? Sports players aren't even I know, we kind of
Yeah,
all the time. Sports players aren't even allowed to bet on anything. If you're in a professional
I agree with
organization, you can't bet on anything. And who made that law? The government. So when they're passing those laws down to those sports players that they can't bet on anybody or bet on themselves, like Pete Rose, who's not even in the Hall of Fame anymore, but they're in charge of the health department saying what stocks we're going to buy. You don't think how many people made billions of dollars off of COVID knowing which drug the government was going to buy?
Right.
And they all knew it before it passed, and they all loaded up their stock market
Now, there are
or dumped their
there
stock
are
market.
people like Bernie Sanders who are trying to get no politicians to be able to hold stock once they are in power. They're no longer allowed to. Of course, there's
And
some
they also don't
hesitation.
But again, that's
Some
what that goes to.
hesitation.
I know
I
there's-
would say so.
I know there's good people, but there's a lot
I
of
hear
crooks
that.
and criminals
Oh,
and
for sure.
scumbags.
Jeff,
in-
there's no way that, unfortunately, a law like Tori's talking about is going to pass. Our politicians, we always go, they only make $150,000 a year. Erica, to your point, yes, these politicians might have pull and people might know them, but it doesn't take them being famous. Sometimes it's even better if they're not famous because you don't care. If you're in a construction company, you don't care if this person is on TV or not. Jeff just goes, I know a guy that is a senator in some state, and he's going to make sure our company gets the contract. And that's all you need.
so corrupt.
And that's when you
So
bring
corrupt.
that senator in to come talk to your 50 drunk employees at some bar hall, but you pay him. You'll pay him $30,000, $50,000, $70,000 because it doesn't matter. He can read the ABCs up there. That money is bribery for us to get that
That's
contract.
because they can't be a lobbyist because of the revolving door, so they do the speaking
so
tour.
the speeches are nonsense. Anybody that's on the speaking tour is doing so because they are conduit to some place in the government between private and public contracts.
I'm glad everyone's on board.
By the way,
I didn't know I was
Santos
gonna get-
is on Cameo for $25.
Who?
Santos, George Santos.
What? That's it?
He's been on Cameo. I thought it was a lot more than it was.
Well,
What else
It
are the
was
people?
more when I think he first got
maybe
on.
he's cut down.
What else
Yeah.
are the people saying?
They said, oh man, show's almost over. People are really agreeing with Jeff. Yes, Jeff, agree with Jeff. Term
Oh,
limits,
gosh.
job descriptions, and
Okay.
competency tests. Ego!
No, I like when Jeff does it.
It sounds like a little,
Goat.
like a fun Halloween ghost,
Let me hear it.
right?
Do it.
What was it?
Ego.
Oh yeah. Ego. Doesn't it sound like a little ghost like floating around town and everyone's scared of him? But then he's like,
God. Oh God. Oh God. And I do want to say Miss Blue does bring up a good point about Mark Robinson. Roy Cooper, who was going to be a VP from North Carolina, took his name off of Kamala's VP list because of Mark and didn't want him around in that whole messiness.
Yeah, people are jumping
There
ship.
you go.
but I have a feeling people knew about him. I mean, I've never seen as many accusations associated with one person ever. Like you have it. There's articles that don't even.
That's a big statement, seeing as
Erica?
how Diddy is splashed across all of everywhere, everything, all the time.
But Diddy, it's kind of like the same charges, unfortunately. But it's a lot of articles: sex trafficking, celebrities, drugs. These are. He's said things. He's talked about these. He did some weird thing with his sister that he was
Yeah, but
talking
again,
about,
whoever-
like his wife's sister. I mean, it was. It's,
so the crazy, let me ask you this. He said some crazy, I don't even know the list, but you're saying the craziest you ever heard. What do you think people care about more? That guy or Diddy?
Diddy.
Right.
By margins. By
Right.
margins. And this guy's working, or was working, for the
The
government.
people of North
Right, for the
For the
Carolina.
government.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
North-
but he hasn't been the fabric of people's lives.
That's
for,
no, I
you
get
know,
it. I totally
decades.
get it. But it's like
That's a good
what we
point.
focus on as a culture is celebrity. That they run.
Because they really
Everything.
do impact your life. They impact how you dress.
Well-
they impact
What music
clubs
you
go
listen
to
to.
and how you
But
probably
shouldn't
met
the
your
government
wife.
be in charge of that? Not celebrity?
Wait, we're not China. We don't want them to tell us what to
Yeah,
wear.
but
and
what do
to-
you?
But
what
they
did
do.
we-
They tell us who to vote for. They tell us what to wear. They show us what to watch.
What did we talk about the other week with Brett Ehrlich? So Brett Ehrlich, you guys remember him from DBL? He was in town and
From TYT.
from TYT, the Young Turks, and somebody that Brett and I used to work with, Dave Rubin, from the Rubin Report, who has a massive online following, is now part of a crazy scandal because when Dave was working with us, which was a very progressive news network, he was much in alignment. All of a sudden, Dave went rogue and became very far right, and it
Even
was
though he's an openly gay man, right?
yeah. And it's now being investigated that Russia was backing him and a bunch of other channels. And how much were the posts allegedly?
$100,000.
No, it was like $1 million a post for
It's-
these
it's
influencers
insane.
that Russia was
No, I
targeting.
think he might be right. It might be 100,000, but
it
if
wasn't
you,
amazing. It was $100,000 for 4 posts a month, and every other posters are like, I don't get offered that for any post. Imagine if somebody came to you, Jeff, and was like, I need
I'll take
you.
it.
Yeah, but like you and Jordan, you would be like, I'll take it, but Jordan would be like, he's gonna pay us $100,000. What does this guy do?
That's called
Like,
spying.
Yeah,
That's called
well,
propagandizing.
Well, it's pretty
Slightly.
open. You're just
Well,
they're
you're
gonna go to court and say
influencing people.
we just thought we were really good. That's what they're gonna say. We didn't ever question
But
it.
if you're accepting money from an American adversary,
and they're
like
saying
Russia,
they had no idea.
and they're saying that.
There's a
weird-
conduit, like
Right, but if
names
you're
like
getting that
literally
money-
George Smith or something.
Right.
to give off Russian advice or propaganda, you are being a spy and an enemy to the United States.
Are
I
you
want to
being
make
a
that very
spy,
clear.
or are you there to just influence and propagandize? Because I don't necessarily know if you're a spy.
I think it sounds like influence and propagandize to me.
Yeah.
But also, I think that's why it's really important that you know your number. You know your number. That you know if it gets to that number, then
What
you're
is-
definitely
Are
selling
you talking
out.
about your money?
No, you know your number. Like
Oh.
you're
Hurry,
selling
Erica.
out. Like you know
Oh,
it.
right.
So
Yeah,
you
don't
know
sell
it when
out.
you see it.
I see.
But yeah, but
Just
also
telling you.
Erica, check cleared. And it's
No.
hard when somebody.
Child, please.
It catches up with you.
If
Now-
I would have had checks cleared, which I had so many checks that could have been cleared, I would never have known you. Let
Yeah.
me just tell you.
Well,
Let me
I
just tell
hope I
you.
had that
10
situation.
seconds.
I'm just
it's
saying.
not worth it. I'm telling you, it's
I'm
not
sure
worth
you're
it.
right, but when somebody says $100,000 for 4 posts this month, you think about
Let's
it.
wrap
No,
this up
because
by
it's-
saying Al and I can be bought.
Yeah.
No, because then it's short. No, because then it's short-lived. Okay, you don't have longevity.
Exactly.
So,
Good point.
make sure, please, you guys, that you subscribe, you like, you set that little bell alarm, so you-
Notification button.
notification bell.
Subscribe.
Subscribe. Follow us on Facebook.
Like.
Soon we'll be on Apple. We're already on Spotify. We love you guys. We'll see you next Tuesday and Friday.